Siddur Snippet series is generously sponsored by the Saka family, sponsored as well by Yelad and Avram Foreman for their full Shema of Hadassah Rachel Bas Chana Golda. We are finishing tonight the bracha of Shema Koleinu, the catch-all universal bracha, the bracha in which we are not only invited but encouraged to add whatever is on our agenda of that day. That's not specific, nothing too big, nothing too small, as Rabbi Yonasan Eibshitz told us. And the bracha ends after we acknowledge that Hashem hears tefillas Kol Amcha Yisrael Berachamim. When we collaborate and combine and complement one another, Hashem is more predisposed to answer favorably to our tefillah. We on our own are imperfect. We on our own, our file doesn't necessarily lend itself to Hashem wanting to answer positively. But when we connect with others, then He's more likely. And we complete Baruch Atah Hashem Shomea Tefillah. So first of all, this bracha, like all the other brachas, almost all the other brachas of the Amida, is in Lashon Hova, it's in the present tense. Because we have to realize that Hashem did not just answer the tefillos, the prayers of those who came before us. One can learn Chumash and be under the mistaken impression that Hashem answering our tefillos is part of the past. He answered Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rachel, and Leah. He answered Moshe and Aaron. He answered David and Shlomo. He answered the stories of Tanakh. But we are living in a time of Hester Panim. Hashem is hidden, Siluk Hashchina. Hashem has withdrawn His countenance, and maybe, who knows, if He hears, if He's listening, if He's answering. Shomei Tefillah, we conclude this bracha in the present tense to reinforce and remind ourselves that it wasn't only true then, it's true now. Hashem listens to us, and He doesn't let us leave empty-handed. Milfanecha rekam al teshivenu. Even if He doesn't answer positively the specific request, but the connection, the intimate connection we have just because we've been able to confide, to ask, to surrender to Him, that in itself is a positive answer. And even if that tefillah is not specifically given a positive result, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu banks all of our prayers, and that bank account, the fuller it gets, we never know when Klal Yisrael and Am Yisrael need to make a withdrawal. So first of all, Shomei Tefillah, present tense, because it's not only something that's part of the past, Hashem continues to answer, to listen to us regularly. But why? We asked last night, why does the bracha conclude Shomea Tefillah instead of Shomea Tfilos? Hashem, you hear our prayers. There are many of us. Baruch Hashem, Boker Ton Synagogue. It's countless minyanim now. Every morning, Mincha Marav, late Maravs, 8, 9, and 10. Beverages, slushies, pastries. Hashem, many, many, many Tfilos are here. So why don't we conclude Shomea Tfilos? Why Shomea Tefillah? So there are several answers given to this. The Sefer Yalkut Koton is quoted by many who gives the following answer. The answer is based on a medrash in Shmos Rabbah. The pasuk says, "Shomea tefillah adecha kol basar yavau." Why Shomea tefillah, not Shomea tfilos? The medrash says, "Amar Rabbi Pinchas b'shem Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yirmiyah b'shem Rabbi Chiya bar Abba, b'shah sheYisrael mispalin, ein ata motzeh shekulam mispalin ke'echad, ela kol knisiyah kniyasa mispalas b'fnei atzma, knasa zu tchila v'achar kach haknesas acheres." Me'achar shekol haknisiyos gomeros kol atfilos hamalach hamemuna al tfilos notel kol atfilos sheizbalu b'chol haknisiyos kulan v'osa osan ataros v'noslam barosha shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't find that every individual and every tzibur and every minyan and every community is davening simultaneously. People pray on their own, at their time, at their pace. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the malachim, the angels, so to say, collect all of those prayers. And even though our tfilos individually are imperfect, when you combine them, when you connect them, when they overlap with one another, they form the perfect prayer. The perfect prayer. You can almost have an image. If I were talented enough, I would make an image for you. It would go viral. That each person is uttering their prayer, and it floats in the air on its own. But as all those tefillos of the Jewish people, dispersed and spread out across the globe, utter their tefillah, they all connect, and they all combine. And when they appear before the Kisei HaKavod, when they appear before the Almighty, they are a whole, shalem, complete, perfect prayer. In fact, the Medrash describes them as a crown, a tara. It's a crown for Hashem. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu is given this crown that represents the perfect prayer. So Shomea Tefillah, our prayer on its own, if we were to describe Tfilos, separate, distinct prayers, again, they would be imperfect. They would have failures in them. But when we connect and collaborate and combine our prayers together, then we can present Hashem with the perfect prayer. So maybe this Amida, I concentrated for this third of the Amida, you concentrated a different third. Maybe I got this bracha, you got a different bracha. Maybe I was thinking of others, you were thinking of yourself, or vice versa. There are flaws in the tefillah, but when we combine all of them, present Hashem the perfect tefillah, that's the image. So we on our own utter our tefillah, but they're not delivered separately and apart. They combine and they're presented to Hashem as one. Another interpretation we end with this, the Sefer Anila Dodi quotes based on Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer in Parsha Shoftim says, Kasher Adam Mispal Tefillah Achas Bekavana, Miskabtzen Kol Atfila Shalosh Nidchu Lachutz, V'Olam L'Mayle Matfila Hahi. If you ever nail it, if you ever get a good davening, a good prayer, a good tefillah, you have it with kavana, all the other tefillos that you uttered, that you weren't paying attention, that you were distracted, that you were elsewhere, that you were mindless, they ride the coattails of that tefillah that you got right with kavana. You take all the tefillos that you weren't entirely there, that you weren't focused, that you weren't paying attention. If you could get one bracha, if you could get one tefillah, it schleps with it, it carries with it all the other ones, says the Chassam Sofer. V'lo od el afilu tzadik echa mispal pamachas bekavana retzuya kol atfila shelo v'shel kol ha'olam shenitchu lebar mimekedem olam imo. A tzaddik gets a tefillah that pierces the heavens, that penetrates Shemayim. Once it makes that hole, it takes with it all the tefillos, even those that were imperfect. So therefore, we don't say shomea tefillos. All it takes is shomea tefillah. Get one bracha right. Get one Amida right. And even all the times that we didn't get right, they ride those coattails, they attach themselves to the tefillah we get right, and those two ascend on high with it. So Shomei Tefillah, we have an incredible opportunity 3 times a day, every day. The beginning of the day include specific details, nothing too small. What's on the agenda for today? The end of the day, thank you Hashem. Acknowledge, or what you hope goes differently tomorrow, where you protest, you want to come out. The way Avram in our Pasha protests about Sodom, we're invited to protest as well. Pick up